In this video, I want to talk about how to vastly improve your roleplay in D&D, specifically for that character that you have an idea for, but you don't have fully fleshed out yet. In Matthew Colville's video about roleplaying, he describes that there are two kinds of characters, one-dimensional and three-dimensional. A one-dimensional character is defined by a single character trait, like the Seven Dwarves. They're grumpy, dopey, bashful, they don't go through any change, any growth, they don't have any desires, and they don't have any motivations. Their character begins and ends with their one trait. Don't get me wrong, they can be totally fun to play. If you play a one-dimensional character, I'm not knocking you, but they're not what this video is about. We're talking about three-dimensional characters. Characters that think things that they don't say. Characters that experience doubt, self-awareness, guilt. They have an internal struggle with conflicting values. A good three-dimensional character can have conflict with just themselves. This video is about how we can achieve a three-dimensional character, about what steps we need to take this list of personality traits into a fully realized character.
I'm multi-dimensional!
We're back at the whiteboard. The first thing when you do when you have your character is figure out what their normal world is, what they were before they became an adventurer. This could be anything from a mild-mannered science teacher, or it could be a millionaire playboy philanthropist. This is your starting point. It's what gives context for the rest of the decisions that you're going to make as this character. Next, what you're going to want to do is make two separate lists. Now, on the first list, what we're going to include is what your character's morality is. Also, stuff like responsibility, maybe rules of their faith, or maybe the rules of their country, if that's what they believe in. This is, I guess, like their beliefs. Honor is also something that you want to include on here. Maybe your character's more logical. Logic is also something that you want to put on here. This is what inspires your character to do what they believe is the right thing. Now, maybe their morality is terrible, and their faith is terrible, and their logic is misguided, but that's still what they believe is what the right thing to do is. So first list, what the right thing to do is from the perspective of your character. Now we're moving on to the second list, and this is where it gets interesting. This is what you're going to put as your character's desires. Maybe it's love, greed, revenge. Oh, love me some revenge. Status, pride, freedom. This list is not supposed to be what your character thinks is the right thing to do. It's what your character wants. It's a desire. Another thing on here that you could put on this list is atonement. Atonement, maybe they feel guilty about an act that they did in the past and they want to make up for it. Now, you may think you know where this is going, but you actually don't. I'm smarter than you. Stop thinking you know more than me. Both of these lists are going to feed into your character's decisions is too much to spell. Choices. A good way to look at this is with using alignment. Finally, a useful application of alignment. This here is law. This here is chaos, and then this is neutrality. So the choices are neutrality, and then you have logic over here, which is law, and you have chaos right here, which is desire. So a lawful character will act on the first list, a chaotic character will act on the second list, and then a neutral character will do a mix of both. A good example of a character doing a mix of both is Spider-Man. Spider-Man is kind of caught up because they have responsibilities that Uncle Ben taught them that they need to follow. They have a lot of power, and they want to use that power responsibly for helping others. That's the law, that's the logic. But they also have chaos in them, right? Because they also are a teenager and they want to experience normal teenager things. They want to experience love. They want to experience freedom. They want to experience all the things that a teenage boy would want to experience. And so they're caught in between using their power responsibly and rejecting that power and living a normal teenage life. How many times has Spider-Man been stuck with a decision to save their current love interest or a bus full of school children? How many times has Spider-Man considered giving up on being Spider-Man in order to live a normal life? You see that? You see that conflict, that internal conflict? All you need is to write down what you want and what you know you should do, and then you're going to have that conflict because these two are inherently going to disagree with each other. But Nico, if I'm playing a lawful character or a chaotic character, what's the point of making the other list if I'm just gonna pick from the one? Shut up, let me finish. Your character may start with an Your character may start with an alignment, but a character with depth is going to change over time. So the tension, the conflict comes from knowing that you want to pick from list number 1, but you're being forced to pick from list number 2. Or it could be the other way around. Maybe you're a chaotic character and you act with chaos, but you're forced to act logically or with responsibility. Or maybe you're a lawful character and you have a code, you have logic, but circumstances are forcing you to go with what you desire and not with what you logically demand. A good example of a lawful character is the Mandalorian. The Mandalorian acts with a very, very strict code. They have a faith that they follow, and they have honor, and they follow it religiously. We get plenty of conflict that comes out of that, but the core of Mandalorian's conflict is that saving Baby Yoda, Grogu, whatever, was an act of chaos. With the Mandalorian's backstory, they were a child that was vulnerable and needed protection, and now the Mandalorian is seeing a child that's vulnerable and needed protection. The Mandalorian is lawful, but the tension with his character comes from the fact that he made this chaotic decision and he's sticking to it. A good example of a chaotic character is Scarlet Witch, specifically from WandaVision, Wanda Maximoff. She's a great chaotic character, not just because she has chaos magic, but because the start of the series, she is a chaotic character, even though she doesn't realize it. I guess spoilers for WandaVision. She has the entire town within her spell, and it's causing them a great amount of pain, and she knows morally, logically, this is a terrible thing to do, but she does it anyways because she has love for her family, and she has the desire to reenact a suburban sitcom-y life. Also, Wanda has the desire to be a mom, which unfortunately proves Sigmund Freud right yet again. Her character is perfectly fine ignoring this list entirely to live out her desires. This makes her a chaotic character, and the growth of her series comes from deciding to have some morality, have some responsibility, and break the spell. Of course, not all characters have to be like Spider-Man and the Mandalorian and Wanda Maximoff. You can make your character however you want to make your character, but these are examples of depth. They have internal struggles that are causing conflict just inside of themselves. It could also be half the fun thinking about what your character is choosing and the kind of growth that your character is going through. Now you have an in-depth, three-dimensional character. With only 2 lists, you've created an internal struggle. Wait a minute. Well, that got weird. Thanks for watching the whole video. If this is like your second or third Dice Brain video of mine, you might as well subscribe at this point. The Jeopardy boards from the D&D Jeopardy video are now available on Patreon for all tiers. $3 is the minimum tier that Patreon will allow you. I would have done like $1, but Patreon it's a $3 minimum. The minimum tier, not only does it get you the Jeopardy board, but you also get to see all these videos early. You could have seen this video like 2 days early if you were on the Patreon. I also just want to thank you guys in general for supporting the channel. This past week I grew like 3,000%. Like, that's not an exaggeration, that's not hyperbole. It legitimately grew 3,000%, and that's insane. Also, the comments that I've been getting have just been very supportive and nice. I've expected people to just dunk on me constantly, but no, you guys are actually being really supportive over this content that I'm very passionate about. It's good knowing that I can take my 2 passions, which is tabletop and also filmmaking, put those together, and people will end up liking it. That's just it's great, and it's been great, and if you want more of this content, you should like the video. Now, the best way to support me would probably be subscribing and just watching the videos. If I want to get monetized on YouTube, I need like 4,000 hours of watch time, and I'm nowhere near that. So just watch another video that comes up that's suggested. That would be great. If you're looking for more tips, I made a video about how to deal with problem players in D&D. That one blew up a lot. So I think it's a pretty good one. I use Star Wars as an example. My one vulnerable moment a year limit has been reached, which means I'm going to end the video now.